welcome back to the third part of Astrology 101, in which we dive into the houses and the points of a birth chart. Get yourself comfortable with some snacks, drink, background music of choice, and let's dive right into it. So, we've just had a whole astrological year in which I've guided from the signs of Aries until Pisces and the planets of the Sun until Pluto. But at a certain point, we get it, we've mastered it, and we want to go further. And that's where we have part 3, the houses and the different points, and part 4, the aspects and the degrees. And if you understand these two parts, you become the difference between the student and the teacher, as you'll be able to read a birth chart and thus interpret a birth chart, which is important because we have three main ways of interpreting a birth chart. The first two are quite easy, like co-star level, but we want to upgrade to astrology master level. And the third interpretation is what people mean when they say you are not allowed to look into someone else's destiny or horoscope because this is for them and we need to mind our own business. So if you're not invited, mind your own business. But let's dive right into it. As the first interpretation is actually quite easy. That's this one, which we use like every month, every week. And this is the world chart, in which we place Aries in the first house, as the world starts breathing, living, blooming in springtime, and Aries represents springtime. And the first house is how you approach situations and how you present yourself. So, this is how the world approaches situations and presents itself. So the world has its own springtime, its own summertime, its own autumn time, and winter time as it closes up to start a new cycle with the cardinal fire of Aries. Starts, initiates action. The second interpretation is where it becomes a little more personal as we use the sun to start the chart. So we place the sun in the first house, as the sun is your ego, is your vitality, it's how you go out and approach the world. And the first house is how you start, as you were born and take your first breath and also approach the world. So I'm a Leo, so let's place Leo in the first house, for example. So we have Leo in the first house, Virgo in the second house, third house is a Libra, and so on until we end at Cancer in the 12th house. So let's bring it a little more to down to earth, as I'm a Leo, right? So, and the first house is the head. So I think about myself, and this is how I present myself. So my face, my head may be like a Leo, very voluptuous hair, as Leos have big manes. And with the sun there, and it's how you approach situations, I may be a very vibrant and shiny energy as I approach situations. But this is the head, and in the back of the head, you have the back of the mind, the subconscious. And we have Cancer there. And as some of you may know, my mama has a Cancer sun. So, my mama, as I approach the world and go live my vitality out, I always think about her. She's always in the back of my mind. But let's turn it around for a bit, as we can also place Cancer in the first house and my sun in the second house. When I tell you my mama is obsessed with me, as the second house is about your values and things you value more than money, your self-worth. That's how you can kind of like see like, astrology is kind of connected to everything. But let's dive into the third interpretation, because the sun chart is possible by just having a birth date. But for the ascendant to know what is your rising sign, we need the birth time, as yeah, were you born in the morning, were you born in the evening, in the nighttime? Well, so where was the sun exactly, where was the moon exactly, and which aspects are there made? And we need a birth location, as yeah, northern hemisphere, southern hemisphere. But if you don't have the birth location, you we have two different ascendant birth charts. We have the tropical system, and those are with whole houses. So all the houses are 30 degrees, make up for 360 degrees. But if you have your birth location, we can go for the Placidius housing system. And with the Placidius, sometimes a house is 20 degrees, the next house is 35 degrees, and at the end of the day, it's still 360 degrees, but it becomes a little more specific. So again, mind your business. If it's not for you, it's not for you. But The ascendant changes every 2.5 hours. So if I am born right here, right now, I'm a Leo. But if someone else is born in America right here, right now, the sun is at 3 o'clock here. So the sun is at 9 o'clock there. So differences. But I've got a story time. So let's whip out the trustworthy laptop and just make this all a little more clear, true story. So, the natal chart is like a 24-hour clock, as where the ascendant points the first hour of sunrise. 180 degrees further, we come to the descendant, which marks the 12th hour point of sunset if you were on the equator, and that is how we view the chart in which the Earth revolves around her own axis. In the very middle of the chart, wherein the Earth revolves, is where you lay with the head in the first house and the feet in the 12th house, like a fetus. We can divide the houses in groups of three. We have angular houses, succedent houses, and cadent houses. Angular houses mark the four cardinal angles in the chart, which are power placements. Planets in these houses indicate that you will achieve some kind of prominence in the world. The ascendant, where the sun rose at the time of birth, shows strength of character and personality. This point shows the power of a person's self in the first house of self and personality. In opposition is the descendant, which represents strength through relationships, partnerships, and marriage, power from aligning with others in the seventh house of fortune in partnerships and marriage. The nadir or Imancoli represents strength through a person's inheritance from previous generations. Planets with the placements of the fourth house indicate what the latter part of the person's life will be like and what subconsciously motivates their actions. This placement brings some kind of mythicism with it, dealing with the roots of your family life in the past and in the present. In opposition to the nadir is the midheaven or the medium coli, which represents the conscious drive behind a person's actions in the 10th house of honor and position in career. Planets in this house represent power in the public, the world of ambition and status, just like the ruling sign of Capricorn. What happens in the first house rises and shines you. What happens in the fourth house becomes who you are. What happens in the seventh house appears as other people. And what happens in the 10th house is what the world will remember you for. Next are the succedent houses of wealth and the fixed placements. Planets in these houses indicate that you have stability, willpower, and fixity of purpose. What happens in the second house indicates what you pray and pay for and shows personal property and finances. The eighth house bears a person's secret and hidden or suppressed thoughts and feelings and regeneration. The fifth house shows what you will pour your heart into, creation and creativity, like the Leo. And the 11th house shows what it was all worth for and and deals with the future hopes and humanitarianism. Last, we have the cadent houses, with cadent meaning falling away, which are the mutable placements. Planets in these houses indicate that you are mentally active and communicate your ideas. The third house is what you will learn and tell the world about. The sixth house is what you'll practice long hours to perfect in secret. The ninth house is mirrored in your meaning of life. And the 12th house are the hidden things or the greater subconscious mind that is for finding true spirituality instead of physical experiences. So we have the first three houses, which represent springtime, which are for personal development and self knowledge. The summertime are for personal outings and self expression. Next, the autumn time, the next three houses are for outer development and knowledge of others. And the last set of houses, the winter time, is for outer outings and dealing with others. Next, we can divide the houses in four groups. We have the houses of life, which are ruled by fire signs, very passionate. We have the houses of wealth, ruled by the practical earth signs. We have the houses of relationships, ruled by the communicative air signs, and the houses of endings by the deeply intuitive water signs. So these are the main themes, but they're not always stuck to. So not everyone has Aries in the first house. It's all dependent on the ascendant, which changes every 2.5 hours. So yeah, now you know you can play with the 2.5 hours, like is it here is there, but excuse me. The first house of energy and vitality, the fifth house of creativity and offspring, and the ninth house of learning and convictions make the houses of life. The second house of personal property, the sixth house of employment and work, and the tenth house of career and public status make for the houses of wealth. The third house of relatives and neighbors, the seventh house of partnerships and marriage, and the 11th house of friends and organizations make for the houses of relationships, and the fourth house of the latter life, the eighth house of death and regeneration, and the 12th house of spiritual reward and depth make for the houses of endings. So, I've read a little for you, but we can still dive deeper into it and just dissect all the houses apart because the houses are kind of like themes of life where everything plays out. We can connect those like we have personal things and we have things in relationship to others. And if you know, okay, this is a planet acts like a sign, and you know this planet is in this house, then you know, okay, this is maybe the area of life in which I am challenged or in which I am very fortunate. So you can make that work for you. And we have 10 bodies and 12 houses. So sometimes we do have an empty house, and that's when we look at the ruling planet of the sign which rules that house. But I talked about that in the planetary video. So first we mastered that, and then we come to this. So the houses, themes of life, people representing people, personifications, and medical astrology. The first house is the self and the body. These are the first impressions and the approach to situations. It's your appearance and your self presentation. So, as I said, with Leo in the first house, I may have a very shiny first appearance. I may have a very bright appearance as people get a first impression of me, and I approach situations headstrong and like take risks. Like cardinal fire just starts, initiate. Fixed fire is a perfecter. First we perfect, and then we go out and initiate. And as the personification of the first house is you, the ego, the body, the physical body of you, because it starts all with you. If you don't wake up, who's going to do it? For real. And in medical astrology, again, it's the head or the body. Like the planets that are in the first house may also indicate how your body is. Let's say you have Jupiter in the first house. You may be very big, tall, or broad, but big, as Jupiter is very expansive. Off to the second house, which would be Virgo in this fictive birth chart, because I'm not Leo rising. That's one thing you may know, but mind your business. The second house of possessions and money. It's all about, it rules themes like the beliefs that create or block abundance, things that are valued more than money, the ways of earning and managing your earnings and your possessions. So let's say Virgo is in my second house and I have an empty second house. If my second house is empty, well, Mercury, as quickly as it moves, but also 3 times retrograde a year, it's always in the same sign as the sun, a sign in front of the sun or a sign behind it. But we're talking about an empty second house. So Mercury, ruler of Virgo, will place her in Cancer. So if we're looking at second house, the things that beliefs that create or block your abundance, we look at the ruling sign, ruling planet of the sign, which is Mercury in the 12th house. So it's my subconscious, the nurture Cancer of my subconscious, or my nurturing subconscious, which create or block my abundance, my abundance. and it's also the way I manage and rule things. So it is a Virgo house. Virgo, very analytical, but it's all thriving and coming forth out of. So in personifications, it's kind of like, well, outside of you, something outside of you, it's your possessions. Like if someone takes away all your possessions, at the end of the day, you still have you, you still have your body. But when you want to go out, when you want to go and thrive, you also need your possessions, things you value more than money, and a way to gain. And in medical astrology, it rules the second house rules the neck or the voice. So you create your own voice, you create your own value, and you start going outside of yourself. And we arrive at the third house where we get the first splits because we're really going outside of ourselves, outside of our ego, and outside of our possessions as we're arriving in the house of communication and logic. Third house rules themes like the style of thinking and learning, the siblings and their relatives, neighbors, and they create your basic education. They create your values and the way you learn and the way you think. And it's also about a short travel. So, as the split is happening in the third house in medical astrology, it's also the shoulders, the arms, the hands, and the lungs as we're going two ways. It's actually, yeah, the masculine and the feminine. Like, yeah, we have masculine thoughts, feminine thoughts, masculine ways of communicating, and feminine ways of communicating. And it's all about your values. What do you really value, and how do you bring balance in that? So with people, it's yeah, those people that create those values, those close relatives, brothers, sisters, neighbors, and everything. And off to the fourth house as we close off springtime. So springtime is all about your self knowledge and your stability. And then we go outside to summertime as we're wanting to show and yeah, grow the fruits of our labor. We arrive at the fourth house, which is about the home life and family. It's the comfort zone, as that's where you go. This is the next angular house. So this is the next comfort zone as you go outside of yourself. Sometimes yeah, you need more than yourself. Seek up your family, as the fourth house is all about your roots, family ties, old age, family influence, and the nurturing parent. We may also say the mother, but it's 2024. Some people have two mothers, some people have two fathers, some people don't. So, yeah, the nurturing parent, the one that raised you and gave nurture, as the fourth house is all about the comfort, the nurture, and the care. So, yeah, in medical astrology, it rules the chest and the stomach. If you don't feel well in your chest, if you don't feel well in your stomach, go home, eat some soup, seek some comfort, and recharge. Off to the fifth house of creativity and entertainment, which rules the children you will bear, but also your inner child in personification. And as Leo is the first house, is my first house. Leo is a fixed sign. We have four fixed signs, so all the angular houses are fixed placements. As I go out and approach, I do that with fixity. I need to perfect it before I say, okay, I am going or I am going to let go. As a cardinal, it's just like, okay, let's go. Okay, we finish. Okay, and if it was a mutable fire, like mutable fire, it's like here, there, we got all these things. Like, how's it going over there? It's going great. It's just simmering. It's just simmering. Don't mind it. We mind it. Yeah, so that's how you can do it for all the elements. This is a fire cardinal fixed mutable with earth in the first house. It's a more practical approach to life instead of a more passionate approach to life as fire. With air, it's more of a communicative approach to life, and with water, it's more of an intuitive approach to life. And as we arrive at the fifth house, it's the fifth house in this fictional birth chart is ruled by Sagittarius, also a fire sign. Because if the first house, which is a fire house, is a house of life, is a fire sign, all the other houses of life are also fire signs. If the first house is yeah, ruled by an earth element, all the other houses of life are ruled by earth elements, so you live practically. Again, so first house indicates a lot. Like if you know someone's ascendant, it indicates a lot. That's probably why you've never heard me talk about it. But if we have Sagittarius in the fifth house, my children may be very expansive, maybe very big and wanting to explore different things. Like, oh, I want to be an astronaut, very much invested in being an astronaut. And at the end of the day, you want to be a zookeeper. I support go big or go home, honey. But yeah, that's the children may be quite Sagittarius like if you are a Leo rising with Sagittarius in your fifth house. The other themes of the fifth house, as we're just going out of the home, going yeah, we have the family ties, we have the comfort, but we're going out and seeking something for ourselves, like romance, doing a little hanky panky over here and there, risk taking, going outside, like doing things for yourself and exploring as you're expressing yourself, is also the house of self-expression and leisure activities. In medical astrology, rules the heart and the spine, or the whole back. Well, the upper back, the lower back is actually Libra, but the spine and the heart. Like the heart, it gives you that, and it pumps energy to thrive, and the spine keeps you straight as you're going out expressing yourself and saying, "This is what I'm doing." Like the people that are going to doubt you is the seventh house with the public enemies, and we're not there yet. We're fully expressing ourselves. We're fully stepping into our inner child and taking the risk because we know better. So that is the fifth house, and we arrive at the sixth house of service and health. And the sixth house represents the colleagues you will work with. It rules themes like like work and its meanings for you, work habits, the types of jobs you will have, the co-workers and employees you will encounter, health and health habits, pets, and in the olden days, slaves, because times keep coming. But the sixth house of service, health, and the routines you have in it. As I would have Capricorn in the sixth house over here, I may be very disciplined as Capricorn starts long-term goals like I'm gonna keep this job like a Japanese, gonna work for 65 years, gonna get my promotion. Would be would be tough in this day, and it's quite tough in this day and age as we're actually dissecting my sun chart over here. But we can also look up a chart for a country, as everything that is born has a birth date, a birth time, and a birthplace. If we look up the birth chart of China, for example, we may see that the moon, which represents the people in the birth chart of a country, may be in the sixth house or maybe in Virgo, as Virgo, connected to the sixth house, is connected to those pets and those slaves and stuff. And in medical astrology, rule the sixth house and Virgo rule the intestines and the nervous system. Well, I don't know what it is, but China making those Uyghur people slaves and taking their intestines and stuff, like, relevated. Like, you can see astrology in the world. We'll take China's birth chart someday and look at that stuff, but like, there's a connection. Everything is connected to everything. And that's the springtime and summertime, and those make for your development, your knowledge, and your development. And now we're ready to go outside. So, everything we've done for ourselves, towards ourselves, now we're going to reflect it into the outside world as we arrive in the seventh house, which is in opposition with the first house. And the first house is about I, long story short. So the seventh house in opposition is about your relationships, the people outside of yourself. And there's not a lot I can tell about Libra's seventh house. The only connection this Libra and the seventh house have is that you have to make a well overwogen decision. Because, like I said, the seventh house rules those relationships, partners, and marriage, but also those public enemies, those personal and business partnerships you have, but those close, committed relationships and the types of people we attract, as this is kind of like a mirror of you. So you have to make choices, take everything into account. Like, are you really going to take these people with you? Because if everything is going the way it should be going, but long live 2024. If everything would go as it should go have to go, you get a partner, you go into marriage, you're committed to each other, you sign contracts and stuff, and you go on. Yeah, the seventh house in medical astrology rules the buttocks and the kidneys. As we come to the second half, and the second half, like, yeah, we got two buttocks, two kidneys, cute. And the people it represents are the partners. So platonic partners, relationship partners, enemy partner, partner in crime, all the partners. And thus we arrive at the eighth house after we said, okay, I'm going to sign a contract with you, or I'm going to go in marriage with you, because every relationship is transactional. You give some, you take some. And as the scales are tipping into your favor, we arrive at the eighth house of sex, life and death, and loss. But there is no life after that, because if your phone dies and you bring it to the store and you fix the phone, what did you do? You revived it, you regenerated it. If your personality dies because you were scorned in this phase and people told you like this, that, and the third, even though you are a great socialite and you find your partner, and that partner gets you out of your shells, all those dark things, because it's not just sex, it's about the intimacy, not the physical intimacy, emotional intimacy, spiritual intimacy, like experience intimacy, and stuff. All that comes together in the eighth house, and you revive, you heal, you regenerate, and then you go on. Because the eighth house rules themes like that, sexuality, again, things we don't really bring to the light or don't really talk about. The partner's resources. If your partner is happy, you're happy. And it's more than monetary value, eh? It's also it's monetary value and above that. So partners, resources, inheritances, grants, etc., taxes, debts, transformation, birth, and healing. Let's put down some other planet, because yeah, Pluto in Scorpio generation, right? Like that's 1985 to 2000s, Generation X, right? And then 2002 we have Generation C with Pluto in Sagittarius. But Pluto in Scorpio, so Scorpio is all about life, death, sex, regeneration, eighth house, and things. So when we were born, like Dolly the sheep got cloned, and people were regenerated, and boys were becoming girls, and girls were becoming boys, and AIDS and all those things that don't really come to the light. Yeah, just look at your Pluto generation, and those are like suppressed things, suppressed skills. Either way, I don't know how we got here, but in medical astrology, the eighth house also rules over the genitals, the front, the back, everything, the genitals, and the people it represents in your life is the soulmates, because you don't just have one person. Like, okay, I want to have a house, kid, and everything with you. No, you can be intimate with more people, and you can be intimate on more levels. It's just for the romantic, just stick to one. But it's 2024. I don't know where your polyamorous things are anymore. Let's just put Venus over here for a second. We're gonna make a fake birth chart, and then we're going to dissect this in part 4. But yeah, you've chosen a partner. You're like, okay, I really want to go through life with you. And most of the times we have three things we really want. We want good genitals, know how to work them. We want you to be a good person, and we want you to have your life in order. But most of the times you just have two. So yeah, which of the two are you going to settle with and say, okay, we can fix this, we can heal over this, and go to the ninth house and become a better person. Stick to that one. Can become better people, better persons as we arrive to the ninth house, which is about travel and spirituality, seeking that higher knowledge. As the people the ninth house represents are the mentors, the mentor in you, the mentor for you, the mentor, someone you can look up to, with themes like religion, the philosophy of life, higher education, the advanced studies and stuff, because you could be teaching, you could or preaching, or you could receive it. And it's all about the things that are higher on the next level. So it's also about the law. Like if I can't call your mom anymore, who we gonna call? The law. And foreign lands and foreigners as you and long travel, because it's all about as you travel you get to learn things. Like I'm from the Netherlands. If I travel to Berlin, it's like 3 hours by the train. It's like 6 hours, 6 hours by car. But if I do it by bicycle, that becomes a far journey. That becomes a long travel, and there's a lot of things you can take in, a lot of tolerance you can build towards the foreign land, the foreign people, their kind of laws and their perspective of life philosophy. Because yeah, I used to go to like the neighborhood of Belgium a lot, like almost every week or 3 times a week first. So that used to be like short travel for me. But now you're lucky if you can catch me in the shopping mall. So now that's a long travel, but a lot of things that expand you, that expand your view, expand your mind. Ninth house in opposition with the third house, which is about short travel. So it's all about your interpretation. See how important your interpretation is at the end of the day. And in medical astrology, the ninth house rules the thighs and the hips. Let's say my son would be in the ninth house, then I have some thunder thighs that can save some lives. And off to the 10th house as we've ended autumn and we're going into springtime. And the 10th house is the point which shows the midheaven. But like I said, not everyone's birth chart is exactly the same. Not everyone has the 10th house exactly there. Because another fun fact, the midheaven can also be, no, from 7th, 8th, 9th, no, the 8th, 9th, 10th, or 11th house, or maybe the 12th, I don't know. But it's not necessarily the 10th house. And the midheaven is something you're career-wise growing towards. So let's say it's on the axis of your 8th house, on the cusp of your 8th house, then follow that, because that's the point you need to go to. Either way, as we arrive at the 10th house, beginning of springtime, we start long-term actions in the 10th house of career and status. And it's all about, yeah, those long-term goals, how you are going to be remembered, your legacy, the bosses you encounter, and the type of boss you are, and the parental authority. So again, like I wasn't raised by a father. Yeah, I wasn't raised by a father, but yeah, my parental authority, yes, also my mama. Yeah, she Nigerian, but it's all about your own interpretation, how you see it. But that's the parental authority, and yeah, also the type of boss you are. So with let's just place Uranus over here in Taurus in the 10th house. Let's say the 10th house is all about my career, my legacy, and my status. Maybe very strong, very stable as a Taurus, but also very innovative, very unexpected, as Uranus is very unexpected, very innovative, and very revolutionary. So I may also be quite a stern mother, quite stern authority, but do it in a little kind of different futuristic way. You dig? Well, as Uranus influences Taurus and the 10th house. In medical astrology, rules the shins, the bones, and the joints. Um, yeah, and the people it represents are the bosses again. So off to the 11th house after we've gained our legacy, after we've gained our reputation, after we've gained our status, and we arrive at the 11th house of friendships. So yeah, you don't need to work towards things anymore. You've already gathered and gained who you are, your legacy, and you're just hoping and aspiring to go further. So the 11th house is all about your peer relationships, as we've all gone through things and we've all been to people. So we can gather our knowledge and grow further in group membership as we're networking in social activism. Work towards those aspirations, because you were born this way. You had to go you had to do all these things, had to go all these way. Okay, I was inspiring to go here. But what are you going to do with all that knowledge at the end of the day? Use those aspirations to build new technology, to build on those hopes for people. And these are all the themes of the 11th house because it's all about the hopes, humanitarianism, and future thinking. In medical astrology, rules the ankles and the blood circulation in an opposition with the fifth house, which rules the heart and the spine. So the heart can pump, but not without the blood circulation of the 11th house. The spine is very strong upstairs, but we're quite two halves. So the ankles are also needed for that stability down there. And as the creativity, the inner child is also in the fifth house. It's your inner artist. And what does your inner artist need? The 11th house, the people, the community, and the social groups that it personifies, and which fan you, which keep you going, which pump pump it up. You dig? If you don't understand, just message me because I do not mind like fixing this and simplifying it the whole time, but you gotta be more specific as we arrive at the 12th house, which is quite a mystical house as it's all coming together there. The 12th house is the greater conscious. What greater conscious? Subconscious. The brain is a good computer. Acknowledge it. Don't be acknowledging Dell and HP and Apple and stuff. The brain is the best computer there is. So it's the greater conscious. The 12th house is the greater conscious and rules things like the hidden or the suppressed, self-defeated behavior, chronic illness, a prison or retreats, and it's the spiritual quest. It's all about the afterlife. Okay, fun fact, I do have Mercury in Cancer, but not in the 12th house, but 12th house afterlife. I have been thinking since I was a child, am I going to be balsamed? Am I going to be cremated? I don't want to be buried. What's the outfit? If I'm going to be buried, it all needs to be biodegradable and stuff. Nurture, care. Just saying, get to know me either way. In the monthly, I did say it's all about the theater and all about the music and stuff because for the theater, for that music, for all that imagination, you need your imagination. So the artist, yes, gets the imagination from the 12th house. And if we look at people, if we look at the personification, it's the higher self, it's the divine. Because so, the greater conscious is really actually, yeah, I'm gonna call it Shmoane. Whatever. Medical astrology rules the feet. We ignore the feet a lot. We may ignore the feet and be victimize it, self, not victim, bruh, ignore. You know what I mean? We may ignore those things, the feet, the subconscious, the greater conscious, even though it has so much things to tell us. It's also the intuitive, as Pisces, ruler of the 12th house, spreads intuition. So how do you spread intuition? Let's say I have Cancer in my 12th house. I spread intuition with care. If it's not clear, just hit me up and I'll see you in part 4.